Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to you here from the ESL studios in very balmy Cologne. It's it was almost 10 p.m. What's the time now? It's late and it's still
half 9.
Hot. And everyone here is complaining about the heat, but it feels like a normal Australian day, a winter's day even to you. I am Mitch Leslie. Thanks for joining us. I'm here with Oliver Maxfield, and now we are 2 games into our 3 of the night. We've seen some really interesting results. We definitely spent a lot of time unpacking that No Mercy versus Supreme game. Definitely one for them to take away. Definitely for a lot of teams to look at how to play on mines, especially some cool little innovations there. But unfortunately, No Mercy just a little way off being able to take it to teams like Supreme. Yeah,
Team Supreme, they've got players all the way from Season 1 when it was known as the WOT Pro League. So it's a massive discrepancy in terms of experience. And as I mentioned before the break, I think No Mercy can be pretty happy that they actually got it pretty close on a lot of rounds, and even managed to take an attacking round off Team Supreme. So altogether, a nice match, and I'm really looking forward to what both teams can provide later on in the season.
And now as we look forward to our last game of the night, we see Kazna crew going up against ASAP. ASAP in their 2nd game of the week, obviously having some reschedules, so they're doubling up this week. They're going to get a week off later. I mean, 2 teams that maybe haven't yet shown us their full potential. We know what Kazna crew can do, but they sit at 1-1 for this season, and ASAP 0-3.
Yeah, ASAP has been up and down. It's been down a lot and 1 up against Rocks. They were 4-4 in there. I mean, it was a great match. You got to go on our YouTube/WGLU and actually check it out because it was fantastic. I mean, Tornado Rocks, it's a team that almost won against Virtus Pro. Also got to the tiebreaker round and then lost that one. And we got on to Ruinberg. ASAP was on the defensive side. They had the right lineups. They had the right positions. And then they just threw like 3 Tier 8 tanks in the drain. And they managed to win it. And it was a fantastic match.
It was a very, very close one. But it's important to know that despite how close that game was, out of the 6 maps that ASAP have played, they've only actually won rounds in 3 of those, and 80% of those wins are actually against Rocks. So if you put that in perspective, we've really only just started to see ASAP actually start doing work. Their first 2 games were, I think it was a 5-1 and a 5-0, so it wasn't pretty for them at all. They've definitely had the short end of the stick. They're a new team, obviously, coming into the league. A lot of them are from Romania as well, so players that have been following Water Tanks for quite some time. There are some names that we've seen before, but now obviously banding together to join a more nationalised team, I guess you could say. Yep. It's good to see. We'd like that kind of diversity. We like to see, obviously, a lot of teams in the European Union throw their hat in the ring. But this game especially is definitely not going to be an easy one for them.
No, we got Kazna crew, the European champions, the reigning European champions. It feels like last year where Kazna managed to beat School Bus in the finals. Of course, that was in Sofia, Bulgaria. Fantastic event. We had the grand finals after that where Kazna took 4th place. So you're talking about, first of all, the top 4 team in the world, and in my opinion, they should have beat EL Gaming and gone into that finals, and you got 1st or 2nd, but they screwed up. Those M41 Bulldogs are the real reason. I'm telling you right now, Hyber. But yeah, I think Kazna are an amazing team. But at the same time, if we look back at last season, they were so up and down throughout the whole online phase. It was almost like they just turned up the matches and won purely based on their skill, rather than actually planning what they're going to do in each match.
And as a result, their entry into those finals was actually, they weren't up at the top of the ladder. They sort of just scraped through, and then they shocked everyone in Sofia, Bulgaria with some amazing games, especially the game against School Bus there to clean it up was just so impressive. Even the Muravanka play against Virtus Pro was amazing. So look, this is a team that, again, has shown inconsistency with what we'd like to call land dragons. They're not really, the online doesn't sit well with them that much. They're a real team that feeds off having one another sitting next to you. I mean, the scenes from the grand finals as well with Vetso just leaning over his monitor and screaming, and the rest of his team, like Palauda, just hanging off him. Like, these guys are incredibly passionate group of players. It can give rise to some errors and sort of tilt mentalities, but Hyper is one of the most well-established tactical minds of global world of tanks, in my opinion. They took down Synergy as well. Kazna dealt with them quite easily. Kazna have not had an easy start to the season, having to play Virtus Pro and then Synergy, but to be 1-1 after that, you can't be complaining.
And they completely shut Synergy down. They went away from that match 5-1. I mean, we thought, okay, this is going to be the match of the day. And like 45 minutes, an hour later, we were just sitting there like, what just happened? They got absolutely smashed. 5-1, an amazing scoreline. As I said, not even letting Synergy into the maps. Against Virtus Pro was also pretty close, but just on steps, Virtus Pro were just too good, too aggressive, and Kazna didn't have any answer for that one.
That's right. So we're not going to have to see steps today from Kazna Crew. It's definitely never been a map they've been super confident with, actually. The first map today we're going to see from them is going to be Ruinberg. All right, Ruinberg it is. Arguably one of Kazna Crew's favourite maps. Their stats have been excellent even last season. They were very strong on an on and offline. But what are we going to see from these two teams in the early part of this round?
Well, first of all, the colours are the opposite way around. Obviously, Kazna Crew are supposed to be blue and ASAP's supposed to be red. Of course, ASAP on the defensive side first. But a pretty aggressive start there from Kazna. But I think it's a pretty standard tactic. You're trying to get that 0 line straight off the bat.
So Kazna Crew have seen so many times that they will head up towards that 0 line and often expect to go head-to-head with the attacking team, or the defending team, should I say, of ASAP, who try and put tanks up in that top corner as well. They won't find them here, but this is going to give Kazna Crew a really good vantage up on that road as well. It's not going to allow ASAP just to set up in the middle of that city and push out. It's definitely going to make them think twice about the way they try and peek over towards that eastern cap.
We haven't actually seen Kazna Crew playing on the attacking side on Ruinberg. We've only seen them playing on the defensive side versus Synergy, so I'm not sure exactly what they're going to provide, but it looks like they're taking the leaf out of many of the other teams' books as Elian just makes some shells down towards CFAS and Spezian. Now, the interesting thing, I guess, mentally is the fact that has ASAP actually, taken that loss against Rockstar Heart where they had the advantage. This is actually the side they lost against Rox on with pretty much the same lineup. Let's hope that they haven't, and let's hope they are continuing to go forwards into this match with a healthy mindset as Kazna look like they want to set up for that right side and get the Eastern Village.
Hyber a little bit injured there. He was spotted as he sort of pushed across. Nice. Quick little boost to Easney so we can get up in the window.
Beautiful boost.
I don't know if I've seen that before.
No, I haven't seen it before.
Brilliant. So simple and yet so effective, surely.
CFAS is going to get wrecked on the cross. Oh, he didn't get spotted. That's the problem with the I3. 360 meters view range, I believe.
It's not big.
Just not a lot. And you're never going to pick up coated optics on it anyway.
There's no point. You need gun lane drive. You need vents. You need all that sort of stuff. So FK Schnitzel now set up in the middle of the city. He's going to get some good spots towards Valalea and Cephas and actually not take any damage as a result. So good information being passed back towards Kazna Crew. And they've done well with the early trades as well. Cephas was hit by a blind shot up in the Eastern Village. And now FK Schnitzel causing some, just being a bit of a pain in the butt for ASAP here in the cityscape.
ASAP, in my opinion, they're a team that once they commit to one action, they're very good. Once they go for the Northern Cap, they are actually a deadly team. They have not been particularly good against, for instance, Utopia when they go for that Eastern side. But I think their best bet is the Northern side. They are starting to get some pressure up there. And I think it's going to work out for them. But they got to be careful that they don't just drag themselves out. They don't let the Kazna Crew drag themselves out and actually start to get map domination and control.
I love this spot from Isney. You can actually see a lot more than players in his position normally could. Normally you see the IS3 one street across to your left, sort of closer to the city, but he's now in a position where he can look even in towards that middle village and get some spots. Now, this little strike force here for ASAP are heading in towards the city, and they might try and construct something there, but the base capture is underway, and Kazna Crew have a lightweight just behind Vetso that can get involved with great shots as well from the 5100 in the middle of the city. There's Eurofish, one more bounce off of Insane, but he's going to take a bit of damage and be forced to back away. And so tough, and now it's kind of tough for ASAP to really look out. But wow, he's on fire. There's the strike force, and Eurofish, he's in deep trouble.
Yeah, Eurofish is down, one of the top players for sure from Kazna Crew. Did so much damage in that game against Virtus Pro. But anyway, I can see what ASAP are trying to do. They're trying to get in a position to actually decap, because against Utopia, all Utopia did was push in the cap, and they managed to get it without a single piece of damage done by ASAP. Awkward. It was the most awkward game I've ever seen. Obviously learning from their mistakes.
All right, Panachin there in the 5100. He's got a good spot here to get some shots down towards that cap, and Vetso trying to back away. He'll cop one in the side, and he knows he needs to turn the tank around and get out of dodge, but it's a good responsive shots coming out towards Panachin as well. Hyber is chipping in, and so was LD Nexus, so that 5100 going super low. Great shots, but he still will be able to pick up Vetso. Kazna Crew down 2 tanks already, but the health points definitely in the balance. ASAP are all quite low, and Nexus will finally respond and pick up Panachin. fashion.
Yeah, that was a bit overcommitment there from ASAP. I don't think they need to do that. And Elian's going to win this engagement surely against Alexander.
Oh, he still had 2 in the chamber. No one goes head-to-head with Elian and comes out unscathed. Valalea will pick up the pieces there, but that's already now caused him to have to commit towards the city, leaving only 3 tanks here for ASAP out in the open. Yzne is in a practically unassailable position right now. To dig him out of there, ASAP literally need to get on the southern side of the map, and that's not somewhere they're going to be able to get to right now. Hyber, though, he's up in that top village. You look at Spetsian, and he's going to put some shells into him too.
But the thing is, it's 4 versus 3. Oh, beautiful there, play by Hyber. Great individual play, bouncing that shell. And that's really given him the opportunity to take down Spetsian. Hyber's not a one-shot either, but he's got to be careful of Valier and Insane there in the background. But still, it's 4 versus 3 and 3 IS3s are still alive for ASAP. It's going to be very hard for Kazna to win this one, especially considering they've got 2 minutes. But that makes it a little bit easier.
Brilliant. Hyber actually able to avoid the shot coming from Valalea, and a LD Nexus chipping in and getting that kill as well. 3v3 situation. Kazna crew, it's a close one. It's damn close right now. And Valalea just sitting behind that little building. Can't really interact with anything that's happening over on the cap. None of ASAP's tanks are particularly healthy. The same can be said of Kazna crew. It's got to come down towards individual skill. This is as good as World of Tanks gets, and Hyber doesn't start things off too well. Cops a shot from Agorni, does manage to reply, but that IS-3 is still looking reasonable, and he'll be able to take out Hyber with 1 shot.
And Yzne's actually certainly trying to get into the battle right now. It took him so long to get in there, but when he does, this might be the game over. But Valalea with a great movement onto Hyber.
Nexus now forced to back away. Yzne now having to deal with Agorni, and I think it was Insane as well. Valalea now freed up to move around on towards LD Nexus. He does take him out. He is low, of course, Valalea after that push, but Yzne now having to deal with 3 tanks. ASAP have managed to pick Kazna crew apart at the seams. Yzne wasn't able to contribute to that fight, had to trundle his way up the road, and couldn't get it done. Great start from ASAP up against the European champions. Really well read in towards Kazna's play. Got close. It wasn't easy. It was a dirty game, but at the end, the Romanians come out on top.
It was amazing that Kazna crew could actually get back into that game, considering it was 4 versus 3. Hyber doing such a great job there. Nexus doing even better of a job in his T-54. But as you mentioned, Yzne being out of position was the problem. He was sitting up there being not distracted, but pinning down Agorni. He had to get off there and get into the village a little bit faster. Otherwise, you know, we saw what happened. Basically, the IS-3s, with all the damage they have, can eventually just kill the T-54s, and Valalea and the T-54 just coming around flanking and also taking them down was great. But, you know, I think this is the point where I thought, oh, this is bad news for Kazna crew. ASAP have all the angles. They've got the middle road covered as well. And considering you saw, who was that in the AMX 5100?
Eurofish.
Eurofish getting taken down pretty much for free. Yeah, not a good start.
No, it was interesting how ASAP used that sort of strike force of lightweights and LTTB, maybe a lighter tank, to sort of just jump on him. He had literally every gun on the map pretty much turned towards him, Eurofish, at that point, and he went down. And that was really, really important damage that now was not available for Kazna crew to draw on. This is where things got really tight here. It was still a 4v3 scenario. The health points were quite similar. And Hyber's actually able to avoid this shot from Valalea, I think, initially. And we're thinking, okay, it's looking pretty good, especially...
Nexus takes down Spetsian.
Yep.
Great.
But then what? I mean, it's a 3v3, but there's still an IS-3.
See, the hit points are pretty close as well. But Yzne's still in that hold-down position. Why? I mean, he can just come off that one. I guess that's the problem, you know. That position is great for defending the middle road, but how do you get off that position? Because you're going to be reversing onto a platform, higher ground, where the IS-3s can just shoot at you and take you down. So Yzne is stuck in such an awkward place, and he really doesn't know what to do, and he's a bit late to the party when he does.
We were singing his praises for you know, coming up with that spot or using that one. I think it definitely has its uses. Mid to late round, I think that you know, usefulness of the spot starts to dwindle a bit there. You know, you're an IS-3, so you by default you want to be involved in those brawls. You want to be getting in your opponent's faces. Yeah. It was a great spot, as you said, to pin down Agorni. But you need to be doing more if you're going to put your tank in a position where he can't actually get shots off in those fights. I'd have a look at Yzne's stats, and I probably wouldn't be impressed there. So a good idea, a quicker rotation off there would have been important. But I think Kazna crew's failings in that map can be pretty well summarized as lost Eurofish too early, far too early, and Yzne was out of position. Apart from that, it seemed fine from them, but they just weren't able to make ends meet towards the end of the round.
They didn't expect ASAP to actually rotate, and maybe that's the problem there for Kazna crew, because, as I said, you know, against Utopia, they didn't go into the cap. They didn't have the positions. They were too slow for the Eastern Village. So they've obviously thought, okay, how can we fix that? We can rectify that by having a nice strike force come around from the side, like a lot of other teams have done, and actually get the reset from the middle road, from the F line. So, yeah, some interesting maneuver by Eurofish there, but it does cost his team, in my opinion, a hell of a lot.
Let's see if Kazna crew can make amends for that one. They are on the attacking side. This is obviously their last chance to pick up a round. And if they have a strong defense, bear in mind, everyone at home, that this is Kazna crew's preferred map. This is one of their absolute favorites. And it's one that they pride themselves on being strong in. And they've got to show us a little bit more. They've got to dig a little bit deeper to bring things back. Have we seen any changes in terms of lineups and tank picks here, Oliver?
No, they're going for exactly the same thing. FKK in that T37, who, by the way, was the highest damage dealer in their game against Synergy. So kind of surprising that he's actually picking up the T37. And then you got AMX 3090 T54s at IS3, AMX 5100. Same goes for ASAP, same lineup, same tanks.
All right. Cephas set up. This is playing out very, very similarly as to the last round. And the shots are coming out, some of them blind, some of them with spots to back them up. A fair bit of Kazna has been spotted in that bottom corner of the map, that K0. This time Cephas, no, this is almost playing out exactly the way it did last time. Cephas does take that hit. Spetsian is tracked up as well. They don't have the spot on him, I don't think so. It's all blind shots from here. And it looks like he's there, wants to get in position again to get up onto his spot.
So I think Kazna crew is seeing, okay, it was actually the way we played it. It was our execution that lost us that last round and not the actual tactic, which is, to be fair, true. You can see Eurofish isn't being so aggressive. And also maybe ASAP saying, okay, we can do the same thing twice, because they're doing exactly the same thing as they did in the previous round. And the only difference is they're doing it like 20 to 30 seconds more quickly, which is totally understandable and totally normal when you're repeating a tactic.
I understand the position on that middle road is important for that 5100 to hold, but right now, Eurofish isn't in a position to really assist with anything that happens. If there's any spontaneous sort of fight that's started by ASAP, Eurofish is really going to have to hot-foot it to one of those sites where he can start taking shots. This time, LD Nexus is actually in the middle of the city, and they've actually left FKK Schnitzel out on towards the field. So a little bit stronger presence for Kazna crew in the city. Maybe going to be helping to prevent Eurofish getting jumped on like he did last round.
Cephas just shot that that vehicle, and Nexus was in a position where you could see the shot. So he knows the T-37's around the corner. Pressure's also on towards the right cap for FKK Schnitzel. So what Kazna crew are doing is basically saying, okay, we know ASAP's going to do the same thing twice, and we're just going to counter it, but that puts a thorn in their side, because now ASAP knows that Kazna's in the city.
That's that inter-round adaptation that, you know, the best players of World of Tanks display. And FKK Schnitzel just moved on to that cap really as just a bait. He didn't take any damage. There was no resets, but he's just decided to push off now as Kazna crew start to make their second little machination, I guess, towards trying to capture either one of these bases. Now, you can see Spetsian and Nagorny have been drawn up here towards the cityscape, despite that cap now only just being restarted. So they're going to be watching those two corners, fairly standard spots for those IS-3s here. What will Kazna crew try and do to change this up?
So Elian and Vetso, right, they're in the perfect position to take down a Gordy in the IS-3. There's also, well, actually there's T-54s behind, so they've got to be careful they don't get spotted. If they get spotted, it could be really bad news. But it looks like ASAP are going super aggressive up the zero line.
Kazna crew's forces are split right now, and ASAP are just trying to strike with force towards the heart of Kazna crew's forces here. Ilian going to have to back away off that undulation here as Valalay or Z Alexander come straight at him with blood in their eyes. Vetso looking to try and get a shot as well. I don't think he connected that one here. And those 254 lightweights of ASAP are going to get into this position relatively unscathed. Ilian is low. He's very injured right now. Vetso takes a shot from Z Alexander now. Kazna are losing out in the damage battle overall. You can see they're just not trading effectively into this position at all. It's such a strong spot that ASAP are in with these two lightweights.
Such a nice movement from ASAP. They really, really did the right thing there. They predicted that Kazna crew with a couple of the tanks would be out of position, and they just commit a lot up and towards the south. But the thing is, now they've done that, they've put themselves in an awkward position because Yisni can shoot across, and really they're not doing much with their advantage.
All right, Nexus and Hyber looking for Insane here. If they can get rid of him, they can start to close the net on the rest of ASAP's forces in the middle of the map. Insane has a shell primed. You're looking to land it onto either of these two tanks. He knows he's in trouble. He just wants to try and hold them up for as long as he can. And he's doing a good job there, but Isner will get the final shot on towards Insane to clean him up. And now Vetso's going to get pushed on towards by Valalaya and Z Alexander. FKK Schnitzel's trying to get out. He's just trying to hold him up, try and do something to stem the bleed right now. And Kazna crew elsewhere over the map are mobilizing for this. Z Alexander will get the pickup on FKK Schnitzel, but ASAP now have to turn their attention towards the northern and more central side of the map. Isner, though, he might be in a little bit of trouble in a moment.
I think Eurofish is in a lot of trouble. He's just driving through the middle of a field with a 5100. It's basically as easy as shooting a barn door. But Yizny is just about keeping him alive, but he gets set on fire.
That is, honestly, that is kind of like Eurofish. We've seen this from him a few times.
YOLO
He's
fish.
definitely featured in a few blooper reels. Now, Yizny, fair enough. He can have a few shots at Alexander as he backs away and a Gorny and put some damage on towards them, and that's good. But once they get towards that cap, it's going to take him a while to be able to get off and contribute. So it's working in his favor now that ASAP are sort of setting up in the field a bit, trying to use that undulation to protect him. And Yizny has to get into position to contribute.
Yeah, Hyber and Nexus really have to take care of Valalea. I think they have to actually get out of the cap here because he's just going to be able to pest them.
Well, there's the shot from Hyber on towards Valalea. Nexus misses his, and you can't afford those kind of mistakes. Kazna crew have made plenty of those in this game, and Nexus is actually going to take another hit from Valalea as well. It's not effective trading into these fights, and Yizny's going to get some side shots towards him from Z Alexander. He's going to be on his own as well, but ASAP aren't capitalizing on that fact. Looks like they're just trying to regroup towards the middle of the map.
Oh, big damage onto Nexus. And you can see the T-54s are really going to start to struggle against these heavier tanks, but they're doing a good job. Kazna crew, when they're put in these situations, even when they fail tactically, they still stay in the game in terms of their individual ability. Nexus just distracts Zed Alexander, and that has allowed Yizny to get into Eastern Village.
All right, now Hyber and Nexus, actually, this is an incredibly important position. They're holding that middle road. They're preventing a Gorny, Spetsy, and a Panachin from crossing, and he easily picks up a Gorny. This is where Kazna's, individual skill, the mechanics is going to pay off on them. Panachin, he's got a full shell of autoloader shots, and he's not afraid to use them. Hyber tries to get a shot on towards Spetsy, but he's going to get chunked down. Not before Izne chips in, though. This is what Kazna needed from him last round, and it's not too late for him to make the difference here. Nexus shot on towards Panachin. Panachin has 3 in the chamber, and he's missed them. He's got 2 left, and Nexus is just sitting tight. He's completely fluffed it. He screwed the pooch, and the Alexander is the last man standing. Izne and Nexus are still on their feet, and they're going to be coming for him.
Alexander's just, where is he going, man? And there's not Alexander the Great, he's just Alexander the Late.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
So we'll see what happens now, 2 versus 1, but it is game over, and well, we see ASAP walking away with that win because of the time. Obviously, the defender has the advantage because if the clock actually goes down to 0, the game ends and the defender wins.
I just wanted to see, like, while you were still carrying out your analysis, if you could keep the grin off your face because you know you just made a call. Normally, if that happens in the office, I'd be like, wait, I think that was appropriate given the context of the situation. But the real story here is that Kazna crew, they managed to hold on there, really. Yeah. It was really impressive from them, but time ran out.
Yeah, 3.2k down by Yizny. I mean, in that first round, he was questionable in many situations. He made up for it in that second round. Truly incredible. This is where, in my opinion, ASAP won this round. That overmatching towards the south side with the 2 T-54s and the damage they do with the AMX 5100s in the middle, truly incredible. They were very late actually going in and doing damage. But when they do, they manage to basically control that whole south side. And that really takes a lot of the bite out of Kazna crew's bark.
Absolutely, and as excited as we could get sort of about what they were doing in those final moments, Z Alexander just managed to get out. It didn't really matter where he was going because he was keeping his team in the round. So really, really well played from ASAP. As much as we were singing the praises, as Tanks players, we just like to get excited when we see like, good tactical adaptions.
But that's great.
It wasn't Alexander was late, it was Kazna crew. So unfortunate for them, but ASAP winning both defense halves on this map. We've got a game on our hands.
We've got a great game on our hands right now. This is absolutely fantastic.
Try not to swear, Ollie. Okay.
Sorry, bro. I didn't swear. Maybe I did. I don't know. Sorry if I did. But, you know, this is really good. If we had another 30 seconds there, maybe another minute, Kazna crew would have won that round. But they you almost had that one.
It was the quickest brow wipe I've ever tried to pull out.
I've never done a brow wipe in my life, so I wouldn't know. No.
I can't help it. It is warm here. It doesn't take much.
It's unbelievably hot, by the way.
But I mean, Kazna crew, I think we even got the winning wipe that came up for Kazna crew at the end of that game as well. Yeah. It was ASAP that won that one. Yeah. So just to make sure.
2-0 to ASAP right now.
But what I don't want to do is get 30 seconds towards the end and be like, oh, well, it doesn't matter what Kazna crew do now because they're in trouble. But nonetheless, now they're going to be on the defensive side as well. And Kazna crew, they've got a lot to prove. They've got a lot to prove to themselves and their fans as well because this is their home ground. Ruinberg is definitely a map that they've been confident on for a long time. And ASAP are beating them at their own game.
Yeah, I mean, we saw at the grand finals, Kazna crew went against the Russian teams and did well on Ruinberg. That's the thing, you know, if you're doing well against Russian teams on Ruinberg, you're doing something right, because the Russians played Ruinberg a lot in their online stage in Season 5, and the Europeans didn't. The Europeans were playing more on the kind of Muravanka, the more Prokhorovkas, and Cliff. But yeah, I mean, they did well, and it's definitely not good to see them now 2-0 down, even on the attacking side.
Well, as you said, we're going to see a second map regardless here at least. So it'll be interesting to see how, you know, ASAP's choice factors into this one as well. Obviously, Kazna chose Ruinberg. On the defensive side now for Kazna, so they have to worry less about, I guess, sort of trying to tease onto that cap a little bit. I think despite the cool little things that they showed us there on the attacking side, it lacked, as you said, they lacked the bite to match their bark on that one.
Yeah.
It was kind of gimmicky, it was cute, some of the things, but they really weren't hitting home. They really weren't, you know, clearing out ASAP. They gave them a lot of room to move. It was chaotic and messy, and they got to fix that. And
as I said, Yizny doing 3.2k damage. 3.2k damage. That's over 2 IS3's damage. So it kind of gives you an idea of how little some of the other tanks did on Kazna Crew. But 3 seconds left until we get into this round. Looks like both teams are picking pretty similar tanks. Of course, we got the switcheroo where Kazna Crew are defending.
All right, so let's see what they can do here as well. I'll try to ignore your rhyme there. Ruinberg, it is, of course. Kazna Crew in the blue. Starting from the north, they're defending, and ASAP and the red are attacking. Let's see if do we have really much changes in terms of lineup. It looks like Kazna Crew going with a fairly similar approach.
Yeah, it's pretty typical Kazna Crew. They like to stick to their guns. They don't like to try new things they don't have to. So ASAP going for that initial play where they're trying to get some damage. Obviously, that doesn't work out. Kazna Crew trying to get some proxy spots, or maybe even just take down Cephas because he's got protection from the right side from that T-54.
Wow, Alien gets that LTTB bounce that we see every now and then. Valalea's shot skitters off into the distance, and Alien getting right up close and personal with Cephas. Really wants to shake him out. If you're now Valalea and Panachin are drawn towards the top side, Cephas now is just going to start to get hammered. But ASAP are mustering their forces for a push on towards that northern cap, and Kazna, they'd better be ready for this.
That's definitely a bad decision, because Eurofish, Yizny, and FKK Schnitzel there are ready and waiting.
There we go. Alexander goes down very early. Spetsy moves out into the open, exposes himself to 3 different locations of fire. ASAP, again, throwing their big tanks just down the drain. Spetsy is lucky to get away from that one. He's going to push up in towards the houses. He wastes the shot firing on the move and won't have one immediately when he tries to get to grips with these 3 Kazna players. What a mess that play from him was. And ASAP are pretty much given themselves no opportunity to bring this back now.
I think Kazna Crew saw that ASAP really doesn't have any potential to go to the eastern side as a team. They knew that they'd go up north, and they were prepared for that.
Of course, you know, ASAP, brilliant. You know, managed to get the jump on towards Ilian there on his own. But now Vetso and Nexus can be waiting for the push out on towards the field. Isne and Eurofish, FKK Schnitzel are also up on the hill. There are so many places that Kazna can cover here. They're leading by almost 5k hit points, and this is a bloodbath. Kazna are writing their name in it.
They're just going to go straight in. Vetso, LD Nexus. You also got the LTTB of Hyber from behind, who, by the way, is absolutely insane in that tank.
And Valalea and Panachin both turn their turrets to try and deal with Hyber on the LTTB, not even thinking about Vetso coming straight up from the field. ASAP look like a completely different team, and not in a good way at all. Valalea, now, he's up against it. He's up against almost the entire lineup of Kazna Crew. This is an absolute
316 damage using HE.
Wow. This is an absolute slapping, and Valalea is going to get chunked. He's going to go down, and Kazna Crew are going to bring it back their first round in one of the shortest rounds we've seen today. I don't know. I really don't know. Like, ASAP, they hurt me sometimes because I just get my hopes up in them. I was like, yeah, these guys are the real deal. And then they go and do something like that, and I think, well, what happened? Why is there no coming back from them? Why are we seeing 2 different facets of this team?
Yeah, I think that one was the facet of not realizing that they can get counter-strat, they can get anti-stratted. Kazna didn't even move their tanks basically from where they spawned. They had the 2 I3s up north, FKK Schnitzel in behind with the AMX 5100 to provide good firepower. And you just see one IS3 get melted immediately. Spectian takes a lot of damage, and you can see the HP already massively in favor of Kazna Crew. It's basically game over. They do a last-ditch attempt in the middle to try and take down the LTTB, but it's too little too late, and you know, Kazna Crew walking away with only 1 tank down, of course, Elian and that LTTB. So yeah, good prediction from Kazna Crew. And ASAP, as a team, they need to work on the eastern play because they can't go for that north because it's too predictable.
And as you said, they gave themselves away with their tank picks as well. Kazna could see that there was no way that they really had the capacity to work on the eastern side of the field. So they just set themselves up to defend a northern push. A really one-dimensional attacking strat coming out here from ASAP. I mean, and Kazna just jumped on them. That kind of stuff, the cheesy, gimmicky stuff, is just not going to work on a team like Kazna. ASAP can go back to their roots, just play Kazna's game better than they do, like we saw on both of those defensive rounds from them, and they should be fine. But this is not a great start at all.
No, well, they're still leading 2-1, but Kazna crew look like a good team on the defensive side right now. If I was ASAP, maybe that northern push is still a potential, but don't push all the way in towards that village on the northern side. Just stay in the cap, use a 110, put it in front, and go for that capping maneuver, and then have tanks stay back to deal with whatever's going to come around from behind, because Kazna are that team that utilizes those T-54s and the AMX-1390s, but really the ones that are actually doing all the plays is Eli and Hyber and the LTTBs. Those are the guys that actually win the rounds for Kazna crew, even though they're the ones who do the least amount of damage. And
it's funny you should say that, because in the first game that they played this season, we go, why is Eli on a lower tier tank? Why is Hyber not, on a higher tier tank? Why is a newer player in FKK Schnitzel was sort of, we thought he was promoted and they were demoted, but we started to understand that the real crux of Kazna Crew's strategy is using those two LTTBs to strike simultaneously and really mess people up. It's great strategy. It's new. We haven't seen it before, really. We've seen, I guess, the foundations of that from some Asian teams. But these guys are really starting to develop that, and it's looking great.
It's good because they learned from grand finals with those M41s. I was outside, when they were having a smoke after the loss against EL Gaming. They were like, and I was like, guys, why'd you lose that one? I think you lost it because you didn't take the LTTB, and they did. And they were like, no. It's all about the Bulldogs. Not a single Bulldog's been picked this season, basically, by any of the teams. So, yes, it is about the Bulldogs.
And Ollie gets his last laugh. But Kazna Crew, they'd like to have theirs as well. I mean, they've got to start by winning this round and then being strong on our next map here. Lineups-wise, it's 3 IS-3s, 5100, 54 lightweight, 2 LTTBs. It looks pretty much the same on both sides here.
Yeah, and Kazna doing the same thing twice. Now, we can see the setup is a little bit more one-dimensional, as so many shells just go towards Eli, and none of them actually connecting. If even one of them does, he would have been in a little bit of trouble. And I guess that's the problem with the LTTB. You do struggle to penetrate the IS-3s, as Vetso does receive one, and he's going to try and scamper out of there.
Vetso climbing up towards that village here, and for the most part, ASAP are happy just to sort of base themselves in the city here. We're not seeing Elian go super aggressive towards Cephas as we did earlier on, and he's going to be free to sort of pull his way out of there. But despite probably about 20 shots of him being fired this round, only one is connected, and that has been on towards the unwitting Vetso. Elian just wanting to do a bit of a canvas of this top side of the map, and he won't quite spot that strike force of ASAP, and that's quite telling here. If they can push out with those tanks fast, they can really take Kazna Crew by surprise.
But Elian's just expecting that. He knows, he's thinking, okay, so the IS-3 is in the middle trying to shoot Vetso, trying to shoot Hyber, trying to shoot me. Let's just sit up towards the north, because eventually ASAP are going to have to come from that direction with at least a couple of their tanks. Now, the big problem here for ASAP suddenly is that Alexander's been spotted by Hyber. That's a great spot, by the way, through the buildings. And it's really obvious what they're going to do. They're going to push around, and generally this is a problem ASAP has. They're good when they're going for one objective, but when they start stretching themselves out, they're very, very easy to deal with. And, Kazna Crew should have this game if they keep themselves cool.
Both the IS-3s of Spetsian and Z Alexander, as you said before, have been spotted as well as they start to move up their inner road. And Isner was lying in wait, center shell, right in the direction of Spetsian. But now Ealing going to get pushed onto now. This is, I mean, yeah, you said he was expecting this push, but he kind of just walked straight into it there. He got impatient. He was back in that corner. It would have been a great spot to receive it. But now Valalay is coming forward, and it's only the skeleton crew of Eurofish there just holding the top side of the map, and ASAP are pushing forward in numbers.
Yeah, but that's a big problem. It depends if Valalay is actually going to do any damage onto the back of Yizny.
As the Alexander gets a shot from behind, FKK still going to come around and unload that 5100 towards that IS-3. He's going to get taken down. Isne finishes him off. Now Z Alexander's going to get jumped onto as well. Hyber even coming back from the distance to chip in. Z Alexander trying to use the undulations of that grassy area to avoid being shot further. But the damage has already been done. ASAP are being chunked right on down. They've got a strong presence in the north, but Kazna could just regroup their forces and push up and dig them out.
And Eurofish is probably going to go down for his trouble, but the IS-3 does so much damage that he's done enough just to keep his team in this.
He stayed alive quite some time, and Yizne managed to pick up Valalea as well.
I think
so
he's
that
live
push,
this.
Yeah, he might.
I think he is. He's just a beast.
Gordy's just going to pull on out there, and Panachin's just going to be happy to take him 1-1. But if I was Panachin, I'd be looking elsewhere on the map. Eastley again dealing the fatal blow to yet another ASAP tank, and there's only 3 of them left on the map. Beautiful play for Kazna crew right now. And now it's just about dotting the I's and crossing the T's and taking this one over the finish line.
Yeah, Hyber's just going to go 1 versus 1 against Cephas in the T-37. He should of course win it. But yeah, 3 tanks remaining, 5 tanks remain for Kazna crew, should be in the bag for them.
All right, Hyber v Cephas. He actually sprayed his first shot, which was an ideal. And that's a high fire rate on the T-37, a little bit higher. And Hyber almost with egg on his face in that one, almost going down. But insane now is where the focus is for Kazna crew. All their guns train on him and his compatriot Panachin in the background, and he will fall. We're going to see an interesting scoreline here. Kazna crew, I mean, we may not have expected this, but it's going to be 2 rounds apiece after Ruinberg.
And both on the attacking side. I mean, typically we see the defenders not being, I mean, in Season 5 it was like literally 50-50. The defenders win half the time, the attackers win half the time. But this season, the defenders had an easier chance of winning, which is true. I mean, we just seen there, Kazna crew defends twice, they win. The attackers win, the ASAP wins twice on the defense as well. I got it the wrong way around. So, I mean, fair enough. 2-2 scoreline. I think ASAP's being very good. Completely different team than what we saw in their couple of other matches they played.
Absolutely. And ASAP showing us glimpses of what we saw between them and Rox here. And this is when, as you said, Z Alexander was spotted out. And Kazna knew they were pushing 2 IS-3s up from the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, they were too obvious here. I mean, really, they could just say, Kazna could just say, okay, we're going to deal with these IS-3s. That'll be 2 tier 8 tanks out of the game. Eurofish, you just need to stay alive up there, and we can just rotate the LTTBs around to deal with anything. I'm kind of surprised that Elian actually pushed around the corner with that LTTB. I think he could have just stayed back and just waited for the inevitable northern push from ASAP.
Well, you know, if you truly thought it was inevitable, he may not have pushed into it there. Elian, a younger player, prone to hot-headedness, and maybe he just got impatient. It seemed like a really good spot to be in because he would have drawn all those tanks around towards him and exposed their rears to Eurofish and the rest of the team sitting up there. But this is when, obviously, ASAP had already made their push out towards those northern houses. Yeah,
I think this is already game over. You can see the hit points massively in favor of Kazna crew. The 2 IS-3s have fallen. Eurofish doing a good job against Panasirin. And Vetso Hyber getting in the game with the T-54 and the LTTP to get the cap reset there. You could see it goes from 14 to 64. So nice couple of rounds from both teams. I mean, ASAP clearly still in this game, and looking like actually in a good position to be able to win the next map.
All right, well, as keen as we are to see the result of that, we're going to have a quick break before we get into that one. So, guys, don't go too far. We're going to see the conclusion of match day number 2 when we return. It's Kazna crew against ASAP, and the map is going to be Mines. See you soon. Yes, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the WGL EU. And sadly enough, we are almost at the end of proceedings for tonight, but not before we see the explosive conclusion to this fantastic game between Kazna Crew and ASAP.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute cracker. I hope it continues like it just left off on Ruinberg, where we saw a 2-all, a tie-up, both teams winning the defensive sides, not really having the potency to go forwards on the attacking side. But so far, it's been absolutely amazing.
Be careful what you say about Vetso's potency here. My words afterwards. But you're exactly right. It was really close, and Kazna failed to follow through on some of their attacking strategies. And ASAP, to be credit to them, they held well. A team that, as I've been corrected, obviously 40% Romanian players, not the entirety of it. Definitely not super experienced, qualifying up from sort of the lower seasons, have been thrown into this melting pot of teams that are, some teams are overperforming their previous stuff, some teams are underperforming, but they're selling themselves well. They've had a rough start to the season, but I think things are looking good for them.
I think they're just getting better and better. I mean, a lot of teams get demotivated after even a couple of losses. ASAP going against Rocks, almost winning that. Going against Kazna, now tying it up 2-all. It's a really good result for them, and they don't look like a team that has got that many mistakes. They still have some, critical locations they need to be looking at. Don't drag yourself around the map. Stay concentric. Don't be too obvious with your lineups, that kind of thing. That kind of basic, easy mistake to see and diagnose and then fix. So I'm looking forward to what ASAP can do here on Mines as well.
Now, as you said, Mines will be the map. One where Kazna Crew has had a few cracks on as well. Seems like one that they're reasonably confident on and fairly comfortable. We enjoyed the play that we saw between them and Virtus Pro in that first play day. They definitely know the way around Mines here. And ASAP, when we first saw them in Mines, they were reluctant. They were slow to react. They almost refused to push onto that hill. They were quite easily scared off of sort of just going for the throat, and it really hurt them.
Yeah, I think ASAP needs to be going forwards. They need to be going for one objective. It doesn't matter if they're on the attacking side or the defending side. They just need to be aggressive and keeping Kazna Crew going. And also, the reason why they won Ruinberg is because they just made some good decisions. They made some good plays. Kazna Crew have tanks here. They can't have tanks here. Let's push there and let's see what happens. And they need to do the same here on Mines. Obviously, Kazna starting on the defensive side. A little bit worrying for Kazna. I mean, we've seen, obviously, Mines is more of an attacking side. I mean, in the previous matchup, we saw Supreme, getting taken down on one map there against No Mercy on the defensive side. So we have to see if this can actually be brought up 4-2 in favor of ASAP, which would put Kazna Crew in a very awkward situation and having to play that tiebreaker map.
And that's right. And it's not really a position anyone wants to be in. I believe it's Ruinberg today, though, our tiebreaker map. So it'd be interesting if we get a replay. I mean, Kazna at least get a chance to right the wrongs that sort of occurred to them.
Same as ASAP. I mean, they lost that game against Rocks on Ruinberg in the tiebreaker as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You're dead right. And Ruinberg, one of the favourite maps of our European teams, but Mines is definitely fast becoming another one of those favourites here. And it's less like Ruinberg. It's not so much a process of elimination, so they're here, they can't be there. It's fairly straightforward. Basically where teams are going to have their tanks, and from there on out, it's more a matter of execution. So we're going to be into this one. It's going to be Mines. ASAP in the red. They're attacking. Kazna in the blue, spawning from the south, will be defending.
So super weird lineup from ASAP straight off the bat. 3 IS3s, 3 T54s, and a T37. I mean, yes, we've seen an IS3 and a T32. We just saw it from Team Supreme on the attacking side. But this is super aggressive, and we'll have to see if it works. Clearly, ASAP's logic is, okay, so we know how good the IS3 is on the defensive side. Let's try and match that with a couple of our own and see if it works out. In my opinion, a good move. I think if they can get the hill, it will work out for them very well.
I'm looking forward to seeing how Kazna use their signature double LTTB strat as well. They're taking 4 IS3s. It's a very solid lineup. And you can see here, they're just starting to move up on towards the hill. They don't have the firing squad in place yet. IS3s, though, Insane and Spitsian look like they want to take to the hill. It's going to be a slow push. And here it is. This is where ASAP can stumble. They're a little bit slow on pushing. They're a little bit unsure. And I don't even know if they're going to try and take the hill.
And this is what I saw about Kazna Crew when they play Mines. They love to play that western island. You can see immediately, as soon as Hyber sees that ASAP are trying to get that hill, trying to get the peaks, Hyber's going to go into the western side. He's just going to constantly pester those tanks that are actually going on the hill. Velilea does get up there, but still only 1 T54 and ASAP are in a good position for Kazna Crew to take down and to try and react to.
I mean, you said it earlier today, you're you're silly if you don't try and take the hill as the defending team, and in ASAP's position as the attacking team. Sorry, and well, they haven't taken the hill. They've really set back. I mean, yeah, sure, Valalea got up there, but they don't have those IS3s really in position. I don't know what they're playing for here.
I think they're trying to use the hold down ability of the IS3, but Cephas getting caught out from the side by one of those IS3s. Now he's got to match up Vetso.
Well, that's exactly why Vetso was sitting there. Sure, Valalea will get a shot towards him, but it's a great finish by Nexus there to take down that T-37. And now ASAP really don't have the flexibility that Kazna crew have. They've got a super strong core to their team in those IS3s, and they've got the 2 LTTBs to canvas the map, essentially. A lot of freedom, a lot of flexibility, and now ASAP have to go to plan B.
But the thing is, all the IS3s of Kazna crew just turn their turrets to try and take down that T-37 of Cephas, obviously the team captain for ASAP. And that allowed ASAP with those 2 IS3s to actually get the hill. Spetsian opted not to go on there, but Insane did. Panaserian's also up there now. So this is actually a pretty good situation for ASAP. Yes, they're trading about 600 hit points, but they have the hill. They have all the kind of, positions that, for instance, Supreme won from. Now they just need to go for an execution. It looks like they're sending T-54s over towards that one line, the western side, and maybe trying to get on the old LTTB hype of Hyber. Take him down. They have that western side locked out, and then they can just move up and towards the southern side, which is, in my opinion, the biggest weakness of Kazna on this map.
So for all intents and purposes, ASAP finally achieving that reasonably strong setup that they were looking for earlier on in the game. And as you said, Agorni and Panachin now angling over towards that island. Hyber is well and truly back behind that rock, so he's definitely not going to get rolled over anytime soon. But Kazna crew now, this might shock them a little bit with these tanks pushing across. I don't think any of them are spotted either. So that spearhead of 54 lightweights now, as they cross the island, are still unseen. They will head across soon. They will be lit up, but Hyber's going to have to respond to this real quickly.
Ooh, they're going to take some damage from the side, though, because Hyber was spotting them out, and that's a lot of damage onto the T-54s. But they do have the positions now. And, well, Kazna crew are, as I said, weak in that southern area, and really looks like ASAP wants to exploit that.
Elsewhere across on the middle of the map as well, a lot of damage is being done. Spetsian gets chunked down, but Panachin here is trying to deal with Hyber directly, and he's not doing the best job of it, really. Is Hyber firing? I'm not sure if he's firing HE. I thought he was for a second there. I think that might have just been FKK Schnitzel chipping in. And see, if an LTTB goes into a fight with a 54 lightweight with more health, he can possibly win it. It's conceivable. He does a fair bit of damage on those shots, but the middle of the map is where a big focus is being gone towards. Hyber will get that kill. It's entirely conceivable for that to happen. And now Vetso is going to be able to clean up as well in the middle of the map. But Nexus and Lilian do drop down. That's 2 IS3s off the map for Kazna, but they've got the tank advantage and they've got the health advantage.
I like that FKK Schnitzel is just biding his time. He's sitting back. He knows he has a very crucial part of the map locked down. He knows he can spot out that southern area, and he can just do damage from there. He's giving Hyber such a good amount of support that he actually managed to take down Orgorni, the best player, in my opinion, from ASAP.
Valalea and Panachin are pushing on towards FKK Schnitzel, but Panachin, he's in no man's land right now. There's an IS3 and a 54 lightweight up on that hill looking right at him. He's got to be very, very careful. A very risky push for them. And Valalea are actually getting bested by FKK Schnitzel so far. That's because the assistance of those tanks on the hill. LTTBs can hold their ground, especially when there's some support. And this is a perfect example of why Kazna go for these tanks all the time. And he's going to bounce that shot. Of course, the LTTB doesn't always have that penetration, but he's just led them around the corner, and Vetso's put a shell in towards Panachin, and Valalea drops very quickly after.
It looks like Kazna crew have actually fixed those issues they had down south. A great push there by FKK Schnitzel, and I like the way they kind of just held their ground and were patient, and Alexander just on his own now in that IS3 down to 666, the number of the beast. But I think it's time up for ASAP as Kazna crew with about 1,000 more hit points, now even more, look to close this game.
I think Kazna crew are the beasts, and they've got Alexander's number. He's going to back down that hill, and FKK Schnitzel should be able to get some shots on towards him as well. It's really just a matter of drawing things out now as the Alexander kind of always seems to find himself on his own in these scenarios, but Kazna crew are not going to let another round slip just because of inaction. And FKK Schnitzel has his eye on the prize. That big old IS3 trundling through the water. It's very slow, and he's got his back turned to his opponents as well, which is never an ideal position to be in as an IS3 player.
Yeah, Alexander going down, taking the scoreline to 3-2 in the favor of Kazna crew. Good round by them in the defensive side. I think you know, ASAP put it to them. They weren't messing around. They went aggressive. But Kazna crew, they knew what they wanted to do. They knew the angles they had to cover. And I think ASAP with that western side play, a little bit predictable. Obviously, Kazna thought, okay, ASAP, watch the VODs. They've seen what we did wrong. We have seen what Kazna crew did wrong in their previous rounds of Mines. And trying to go for that one again is obviously where Kazna crew is trained. And it doesn't work out for them.
That western side push is a gambit in a lot of situations here, but this is where we're looking right now. And isn't that initial setup for ASAP, when they were really slow to push up on that hill, it took them so long to even really be able to get themselves up onto that vantage point.
Nexus and Yizny are just brilliant IS3 players. Last time, you know, Elian was playing the IS3 on this one in that position, but Nexus is just as good. And the more experience you have in a position, the better you are at it, essentially. I mean, it sounds obvious, but it's true. And he's very comfortable at making those peaks. And Kazna crew are always going to win the peaking game. They're already up about a few hundred HP. And with Hyber in the LTTB coming from the western side, if ASAP didn't go forwards, if ASAP didn't do anything, Hyber would have been a real thorn in their side. He would have been real pain. So ASAP had to make the move. Here the move comes. The 3 T-54s that go straight across. And the amount of damage Kazna does to these T-54s is ridiculous. FKK Schnitzel them behind as well, providing support to Hyber. Hyber doing an absolutely fantastic job. I mean, the guy was like, he was in the highlight reel for the WGLRU where he actually took down 3 tanks in succession. The guy's a beast.
I mean, and this is always a gambit pushing towards this island here. It's worked out for teams. We've seen it work out for Kazna as well. And these 3 tanks get themselves up on the island, but look at how much damage Agorni and Valalea had already taken by this point. Hyber does a bit of his own. FKK Schnitzel is watching from up there. Vetso is even drawn back to look over towards that side. And the problem is that, you know, ASAP aren't really solidified on that hill. This is when stuff starts to go sour on that middle hill, and ASAP have to sort of pull off it.
Yeah, basically, Kazna could see the 3 tier 8s committing towards that western side. They're thinking, we can get the overmatch, we can get that hill, we can go 3 versus 2 against the T-54 and the IS3. They do that, they win it, they get that that area. In my opinion, Kazna maybe have to look towards that hill as one of their weaknesses on mines as well. But the timing for Kazna is spot on. I mean, we can knock them for their tactics, we can knock them for some individual mistakes, but Kazna are always going to win those timing games.
And we said, you know, it can be quite oppressive to play the defensive side on mines and deal with teams always being able to get the hill. We talked about it saying, by default, you should have the hill on the attacking side. Yeah. Kazna crew are a team that can play really well around that fact. They don't turtle up, I don't feel, as a team, but they watch each other really well. They've got a really good canvas over the map, and they tend to be able to always, you know, no one gets to take a shot at Kazna crew without taking a shot in response, whether it's from the player they're shooting at or from someone else. They've always got a great crossfire setup. That's
a hallmark of a good team. We saw it in Supreme in the last match. We've seen it from Synergy. We've seen it from Virtus Pro. We see it from Na'Vi. We see it from Hellraisers. All these great teams, the ones that have so much experience and so many accolades, so many titles, so many trophies to their name, that you really have to be gunning for that kind of ability as an upcoming team like ASAP. Now, obviously, getting the hill again, Valalea's up there. He did this the last time as well. It looks like Elian this time is playing the IS3, so the Elian-Yizny combination's coming out again, and FKK Schnitzel and Hyber playing the 2 LTTBs. Nexus put on the T-54.
This time, ASAP moving up on towards the hill a little bit earlier and in numbers. Elian pokes his head up and gets a chunk taken out of it as a result. Now one shot coming on towards him, Kiev Insane has definitely left its mark. So Kazna, unexpectedly giving up the hill. Eurofish and Vetso positioned out behind these buildings here, interestingly enough. I haven't spotted too much of the presence of ASAP on this hill. It's just Spetsin so far in the middle that's been lit.
This is a brilliant little bit of bait from Kazna crew. They know that, well, Kazna had a T-54 up there. It was Vetso last time. And really a very common tactic is pushing that right side. So let's put 2 T-54s in positions which no other team has ever done. And let's just have those T-54s of the other team push off, not expect the shells from behind and get absolutely obliterated. But we see Insane and Cephas in the IS-3 and the T-37 actually start to make their way over towards that right side. So once they get there, actually the overmatch could be in favor of ASAP. But then again, Yizny in the IS-3 in the middle is there to provide good crossfire.
That's right. Yizny's just rolled off the hill. He's not even on the ramp, so we can just duck around the corner fairly quickly and put the shots in. Insane and Cephas just kind of holding hands through this little village right now, unaware that Vetso and Eurofish are lying in wait behind those 2 buildings. Now, Eurofish is lit. So that trap's been sprung there. Will he poke out for a shot or will he back away? Vetso now going to show himself. Oh, there goes Cephas in a plume of smoke. And only that one replying shot from Insane. Kazna crew springing their little trap, and they're not giving too much away about their movements. They're spread pretty nicely over this map as Isne gets involved. And there's definitely aren't too many holes in their plan.
Finally, we see actually a team go for a proper tactical on that eastern side. I mean, Cephas was always going to die at some point or another. But he is basically a good block for Insane, who's capping.
Nexus now going to be coming up behind Insane, put a shot in towards his rear. That's going to reset that cap completely. But Panache and Valalay are doing work up on the hill. They actually do get the track. I think it was on a Uralfish who pushed up for that shot. No, he's back behind there. Nonetheless, Insane drops down. So that was that cap attempt from ASAP now. Being scuttled, but the health points is very close.
I don't know. I think this is actually not great for Kazna crew right now. It's a very awkward position to be in. All their tanks are committed to the right side, and they're completely locked down by Panasin and Valalay. And all Panasin and Valalay have to do is shoot that house, and, well, Nexus is dead.
The Hyber's getting the proxy spots on the top of that hill, so they're keeping those guys lit. Giving Kazna crew the opportunity to get some shots back in war. There's a free LTTB of FKK Schnitzel being left around the side. He's now going to come up behind Agorni, and the overmatch is going to occur. Hyber pushing in as well, does take a shot from behind it, but he's still going to be able to take down Agorni. And Kazna crew cleverly are picking apart these single targets of ASAP. I mean, it's a protracted engagement, and yet they're still managing to get these 2v1s, these 3v1s.
And also Ilian and Yisni now pushing on the hill. Panasin in a very bad position. They actually pushed off to try and get the overmatch here, but they've been caught out.
They pushed off into a 2v3 scenario. I don't really understand why they've done that. Valalay's going to get pushed back. Spetsy out in the open, and Z Alexander's going to have to roll backwards off the hill. He better not roll into Spetsy now. He's just going to have to hold for now. But ASAP are really running out of options here. It's great work by Kazna crew. This is flex play at its absolute finest, and ASAP do not have a response.
Yeah, Alexander left on his own, and Vetso will find that last frag, taking Kazna crew into a 4-2 scoreline, looking like a different team on Mines.
Absolutely. We saw a different approach from ASAP there, working towards the eastern side. But Kazna almost had something of their own planned as well. I mean, the death of Cephas in that T-37 wasn't really consequential. It wasn't a huge deal.
Yeah.
But what they did is they showed already that they had an established presence on the eastern side of the map. And ASAP had already pushed into that.
Yeah, the thing is, ASAP was thinking, okay, so we know that Kazna will have one tank all the way down south in that base. What they didn't expect is those two T-54s. So Cephas was there in front to provide cover for the IS-3 behind. The IS-3 was sitting there capping, but because Yisni, because Nexus and Uralfish were there in the T-54s, it was too little. I mean, it was too quick. Those two 54s just pushed forwards. They took down Insane, and that was game over. So just very good positioning from Kazna crew. Good prediction that the eastern side will be where ASAP's going, and they take the game away. You can see it just there. And then some strange movement from ASAP, trying to get off the hill, not thinking about what Yisni and Elian were going to do in those IS-3s. And then they get overmatched by some great play from the LTTBs as well.
I actually think this is a really important adaptation that Kazna crew have made on this map, and one that teams will be wanting to pick up here, because you can see how ASAP really got trashed on this push. Normally teams don't put tanks on the east at all, like you said, and we often see that run of the gauntlet by the attacking side to put 1 or 2, maybe even 3 tanks straight down the eastern village through there, and they try and take out that 54 lightweight or the 5100 that's being held back at base. They try and establish that overmatch scenario, and quite often we see that happening. We've seen that in, I think earlier today, actually, in our Supreme game as well. We saw, attempts for them to force their tanks through via that eastern village. But Kazna crew have now adapted their strategy to essentially nullify that, to make that very difficult for teams to do. And that's actually a glimmer of hope for those defending sides now. It's not maybe so skewed. They at least give themselves a little bit more of a fighting chance going in, obviously, with that southern spawn.
Sure. I mean, the thing is, though, Kazna crew, 4 defensive rounds now in a row they've won. They haven't won a single attacking round in this match so far. So maybe it's that whole mentality of the defender versus the attacker where you've got the time in your favor and you just got to get those bases defended and you should be okay. Make sure you're getting the peaks, you're not losing out on the damage. So we'll see if Kazna crew actually have some potency going forwards as the attacker when they do switch around on this next round.
All right, as the Kazna crew on the attack, they're going to take the kill. We see them work quite well off of that position. And Mines, on the defensive side, for ASAP isn't ideal. But ASAP have thrived on the defensive side so far in this match. Both teams, obviously, getting the defensive rounds up on Ruinberg there. It seems like it's something they're fairly confident with, but we've seen them be deconstructed. I think it was against Team Supreme in week 1 on Mines that we saw ASAP go up against him. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty at all.
No, it wasn't at all.
They committed a lot of tanks towards the hill when they never intended to take it.
Yeah, that was probably one of the most one-sided matches I've ever seen. I mean, 5-0 to Supreme. I mean, yeah, okay, it's Supreme. They're amazing on Mines, but still, come on. You've got to put some pressure on them. You've got to try new things and keep the kind of teams which play hundreds and hundreds of hours of practice against the normal tactics and do something unusual. Don't do something normal. That's how, the original teams beat, for instance, the Red Rush. They did it by trying something unusual, doing something which Red Rush, who just trained like an absolute beast, didn't expect, and it works every single time. But I can see already that Kazna crew, they've got the FE304 in the lobby, played by Eurofish, decent artillery player, being pretty impressed by him in general. And obviously, on the attacking side, that's a little bit unusual. We did see it beforehand in our previous match, I believe. It worked out pretty well, but he's still got to hit those shells.
All right, so we're going to see Cephas drop for ASAP, and they're going to bring in Dawn, who obviously we saw coordinate a lot of assaults with Spetsy and those two IS-3s going forward. As I said, some innovation will be really good here from ASAP to change it up. If they fall into that rut of going through with that really default, that really standard strategy, they're not going to beat teams like Kazna crew. They didn't beat Supreme for that exact same reason. They've shown promise when they're being forced to play outside of their comfort zone, and they embrace that fact. They realize that this game is chaotic. We are in a chaotic game right now. Let's just do what we can to harness that and kind of go with the flow here. So that's what we expect to see from them. That's kind of what we hope at least to see. You did mention, of course, that artillery going to be coming out for Eurofish, and ASAP might be taking one as well. Yeah,
artillery picked up by Insane. I mean, the guy's an absolute beast in artillery. When they played against Team Supreme in that first match, actually he did a good amount of damage. I think he did like 1.2k or 800 damage, somewhere around there, more than the rest of his team. So maybe one of the better artillery players, if not the best artillery player in the league right now. We still have to see how he performs in this next match.
That's right. I mean, the performance put on by Ron earlier tonight was pretty impressive as well. So there's definitely that to be looking at. We're going to jump into it now, ladies and gentlemen. It's potentially our final map of the night here. ASAP fighting to hang in this one. And Kazna crew pretty keen to be done with their opponents, who've definitely given them a challenge tonight. Lineups, Oliver, what have we got?
Well, it looks like Kazna taking a leaf out of Penta's book, going with 6 T-54s and, of course, Eurofish and that FE304. So the exchange is going to be in the middle. FKK Schnitzel and Betzo going up.
Valet will probably get at least one shot on those tanks as they cross up towards the hill. Oh, that's a lot more damage than we maybe expected to see. FKK Schnitzel gets chunked down. 700 damage going towards him. And Kazna crew were already at a health point disadvantage by taking so many lightweights. That has got to hurt.
But that's exactly what Kazna crew did against ASAP. So I'm surprised Kazna actually went for that one. I'm pretty surprised that FKK Schnitzel went up the hill, but it looks like Agorni and Dawn are going for it.
A good idea as well. We've already lost FKK Schnitzel there. He's down and out. He took a heck of a lot of damage. Insane doing work there from the background. And Kazna crew are getting wrecked here. Spetzian pushing up. Agorni and Dawn going to go up the hill, and Alien and Nexus, the only two to really watch this one. 3 shots in towards Agorni, 2 to connect. Dawn takes some damage as well, but it's not going to be enough. That's a lot of health points on those IS-3s, and there's only so much the 54 lightweights can do. Here's the push forward as well. Valet is coming up, so is the Alexander, and Panacha and they're coming straight for the throat of Kazna crew. Nexus is going to be forced to roll back off that hill and give that plateau up for dead.
They don't look like they're doing very much, Kazna crew. I mean, this is almost a repeat against what they did against Virtus Pro and why they lost. And those IS-3s are just absolute beasts, just pushing on to Kazna.
Kazna crew can't attack today. They seem to have some serious problems with playing in that way. And the guys from ASAP are being far more aggressive than they are, and it's totally worked in their favor. So much early unanswered damage towards Kazna crew, and they have not been able to recover.
Yeah, Nexus, the last one remaining for Kazna crew. He will fall very shortly, but 100% agree with you. I also super surprised by that lineup from Kazna crew. 6 T-54s. Did they not watch that game between Penta and Supreme where we saw the IS-3s are the rules of the world right now in every single map pretty much? I mean, Team Supreme just absolutely wrecked Penta on that map with the IS-3s. So super surprised by that lineup. Very easy work from ASAP. I mean, they just pushed forwards with the IS-3s, and Kazna crew just couldn't do anything. It doesn't have the damage to actually take even one of them down.
Insane as a beast, by the way. He did 1,200 damage in that game. He was the one that dealt with FKK Schnitzel just before this clip rolls.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm pretty surprised by FKK Schnitzel. Why did he actually go in that position? I mean, since the dawn of time, as an artillery player, you're always aiming for that place just in the alcove that can actually shoot tanks which are coming from the defensive side onto the hill. If you reverse too far backwards, you're shooting to the back of the tank with HE or with heat, you're going to take it down.
And they absolutely did. Really impressive work from him. I mean, FKK Schnitzel already chunked down quite heavily as he first pushed up on towards the hill. I don't know if Insane would actually put a shot on the tanks as they crossed up, but they had such a good setup to watch that hill. I mean, we often say on this game, on this as well, the team on the on the defensive side wants to take the hill. They want to get up there and sort of on the attacking side, sorry, and they're going to take some damage. They'll take some damage, and they have to deal with that. That was more damage than you can really afford to take pushing north.
Yeah, again, I think FKK Schnitzel shouldn't have taken the hill because, every tank gets its own unique spawn point, and the type of vehicle determines where you're spawning on the map. Obviously, Vetso got the best spawn point, and that's why he went up the hill. When ASAP actually played this map in the previous round, Velalea was in that spawn point, and he got the hill. But you didn't see the second T-54 head up because he knew that the defending side could get the shots onto him. The IS-3s were in position, they were reloaded, they could shoot him, so they only put one T-54 up there. You only need one T-54 to get control of the hill, then you can start playing out. But in general, Kazna need to go back to the drawing board in terms of lineups, and I can tell you right now, it looks like they have, going with those LTTPs again, which have worked so wonderfully well on defensive side, and of course, Elian and Yizny playing the IS-3s. It's
good to see a bit of a mix-up here from them as well. It's pretty obvious to see that lineup with the lightweights isn't going to work. So an adaptation now for Kazna, some comfort picks coming out in terms of their layout. They might even be feeling that at this stage, we're so close to getting the win, maybe we can just hold on, play our style, not make any massive mistakes, and we'll be okay. But, I mean, ASAP are getting a little bit close here.
Yeah.
It's getting a little bit uncomfortable.
It could be a 4-4. I'm telling you right now, it could be 4-4. We could be moving on to Ruinberg and seeing ASAP perhaps even lose it on there. So I think ASAP's playing for their life right now. They want that first win in the bag. And against Kazna Crew, it would be pretty incredible. It
would be. Even taking them to tiebreaker as well. Getting that point off them, even if they lost in the end, would be phenomenal. But we're going to be jumping on to our last map in just a moment here. Mines it is, the staging ground for ASAP's last stand. Or will Kazna Crew be the ones to capitulate? We'll find out now. Let's have a look at a little bit more of these tank picks, see what these teams are bringing into this very important game.
So as I mentioned, the LTTB has been picked up by Kazna Crew, 3 T-54s, 2 IS-3s. I think that's the most solid defensive, most solid attacking lineup you can get. If you want the LTTBs instead of, if you want a T-37 instead of the LTTBs and take another tier 8, fair enough, you can do that as well. But Eurofish, Vetso taking a hill.
Oh, Panache takes some damage there as well. And Kazna Crew this time getting up on towards that hill fairly safely, to be honest. Put 2 shots in towards Panache, and he's going to be worse off in that engagement. So Kazna Crew, good start for them. They've made all the right moves. There's the shot from Insane coming in towards that spot. He tried to time it as well as he could, but Eurofish was able to avoid getting hit by that shell.
And also, you got to remember the M44 just isn't accurate at all. But this is the Kazna Crew I wanted to see. Gorny and Alexander need to be getting the peaks. They need to be putting the pressure onto Yizny and Eurofish, and also Elian, who are just absolute beasts. You got Hyber constantly pressuring from the side, and FKK Schnitzel. So this is the Kazna which we wanted to see in the first place.
Insane has no protection at all. There's no 54 lightweight left back for ASAP. All of their forces have been committed to the hill, and Insane is going to go down.
Why is FKK Schnitzel not actually shooting him?
Did he know? Did he spot him until the last second? I'm not sure. Maybe he thought Insane was going to be firing at him. I'm not sure. That's a bit of a Schnitzel thing, though, as well. We know the guy. He can be a little bit in the clouds sometimes. It was an interesting move from him. But elsewhere on the map, Kazna Crew has tampered their dominance all over ASAP. This is looking messy.
Yeah, Velalea might be trying to back his friends up here and push up the hill to take down Eurofish and Vetso. The push is coming in.
Exactly right. Panache trying to get up onto towards the hill as well. Elian taking a fair bit of damage, but it's a little bit too little, too late. Alexander the late, as you called him, now going to be trying to push in towards Elian, but Easley will be there to receive him, and he's had to back right on up. ASAP just got nowhere to go right now except for just keeping those W keys held down and hoping that they can connect with the mouse one. Agorni very, very low. Dawn hit the deck, and Alexander is so low. ASAP fought valiantly against the ex-European champions, but they're going to fall just before the finish line.
Yeah, last one to fall is Alexander. FKK Schnitzel does bag him up. So great play there by Kazna Crew. I think the main point was the fact that Elian and Yizny were playing those 2 IS-3s, sitting on top of that hill, just locking it down. Vetso and Eurofish in the T-54s much quicker onto the hill as well. They're right behind each other, so they didn't take that much damage. And also hitting bow shells onto Panaserium while they're getting up there. Then the LTTB is just mixing themselves up around the map and being such a pest to ASAP.
Such a critical error from ASAP as well. We saw it was a IS-3 heavy lineup, which means it would be less of those lightweights that will be able to be free and flexible. It wasn't a flexible lineup at all, especially when you throw in an M44. It's just this giant fist of IS-3 sort of pushing into the middle of the map, and there's not much they can do when they get repelled like that. And this is kind of the initial stages of the match. That's after Panachin kind of got chunked down, and you can see on the eastern side of the map that LTTB is moving.
Yeah, so most teams right now have a tank just specifically for an eastern side push. ASAP doesn't have that. They leave their flank completely open. FKK Schnitzel makes the right meal of this engagement, but he still gets him down, and then he can just shoot from behind. You also see Hyber move from that western side in towards the middle a little bit more. And, you know, it's game over. I don't know what he's doing here.
I think he was expecting not to see Insane there for some reason.
Where else would he be?
I don't know. Maybe over on the far west side or in some random spot. But he gets it done. Eventually, Schnitzel gets it done most of the time anyway. So,
yeah, he's a good player. He's a decent player. But we can see here, you know, the last-ditch attempt from ASAP to push forwards. Kazna deals with it very nicely. Valalea goes down very quickly. And those IS-3s who probably should have pushed a lot earlier eventually push and get absolutely obliterated by every angle where Kazna crew was.
Messy. It was very, very messy for ASAP at the end there. I mean, Kazna with a super flexible lineup, we said this is their comfort picks. This is the way they like to play. ASAP conversely went with this super rigid lineup where they pretty much threw all their eggs in the basket of getting the win in the middle of the map. They thought they'd be able to replicate their success from the last round. Maybe they thought that Kazna wouldn't change their lineup for some reason, but they didn't have the ability to send their lightweights around and watch flanks at all. It was just straight up the hill or bust.
Yeah, a lot of mistakes from ASAP, but again, this is the European champion. These guys have the crown. So again, ASAP's improving every single round. And if you look at their first match against Team Supreme now, you look at this match against Kazna crew, first of all, their Mines play is a lot better. Second of all, it was 2-2 after Ruinberg. They played such a good match. And I think, you know, against lesser teams than the top teams in the world who, by the way, they've had to play all through the first week because of match rescheduling issues, I think they're going to do well against them.
It was fantastic work. And you got to like the fact that ASAP are becoming a team that is going to punish those top teams for their mistakes. Kazna made big mistakes on the attacking side on Ruinberg and were crushed as a result. And I've never seen a more one-sided game than when they tried to take those lightweights up towards the hill on that last map. It was very, very impressive. But now we're pretty much done with our games for today, ladies and gentlemen. Let's cast our eye and recap our results from tonight. Of course, we've seen 3 big games. Utopia versus Pentasports was an interesting one. We said it was in the balance, 2 teams sort of in the middle of the ladder. A great game.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Pentasport actually got the loss there. I mean, some good matches for sure, but Utopia just looked better. And every single round, they looked like the better team. They lost a couple, yeah, but I think the loss was always going to happen towards Pentasports, and Utopia can be very happy with that result.
Of course, No Mercy versus Supreme. It was definitely a dominant performance from Supreme. No Mercy showed some moments there where they were maybe able to, you know, orchestrate something, but Supreme are so well drilled, and individually they are just very talented.
And we got to see a team that's actually effective at attacking on Lakeville. I think that's the most important thing to take away from that round.
Absolutely. And the Mines play from Supreme was really nice as well, with that one slight hiccup. And of course, to finish the night, we just saw Kazna crew get the win over ASAP. Kazna crew again showing some of their jitters in online games, in the online sort of side of things. Their Ruinberg attack wasn't very impressive at all, but luckily they managed to bring things back on Mines, going back to their roots, back to their comfort, and it just goes to show how strong they can be when they get to play their game. I
think Kazna crew are going to be more serious on the online phase because they know that they can't be in the same situation where they were in Season 5, where there was literally 1 point separating them from going to Sophia and not going to Sophia. So they're taking this more seriously. Some dubious tactics, but still doing pretty well.
Yes, indeed. So now we've seen the games that we've had tonight. Let's cast our eyes forward to next week's games. Obviously coming up on Tuesday, it's going to be Tornado Rocks going up against Synergy in the first game of the day. That will be a cracker. Virtus Pro then will go up against ASAP, and we'll be finishing the night with Wusa versus Strong Siema. Tell me, Oliver, what is your prediction for the game of the round?
I think the most obvious one is to go for that first one. where you just say, okay, the synergy game is going to be insane. But I think that last one as well, Wusa Stronk, is going to be really close, and it's going to be an absolute cracker as well.
Well, we're looking forward to those ones, and we hope you guys are as well. So we'll be back here next week, of course, on Tuesday night, same time, 7 o'clock CEST. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining myself and Oliver here on the desk. It's been interesting. We've had some funny moments. We've cried, we've laughed, we've just shared emotions together. It's been a great night. But guys, thank you very much. Good night and good game.